in the dark. I am the night. Thou art the light of my life. I was getting out of darkness. You are torn to pieces. Betrayal, love, and pride. Do you have faith in my judgment? Get yourself. Be careful. Get yourself. I keep trying to fight against the fight. I was getting out of darkness. In the dark. I was the night. Don't ever take sides with anyone. Again is the family. Again is the family. Again is the family. Make noise! Let's get crazy!
Organized crime.
Don Homer, I have baked a special donut just for you.
Grazie.
Don Homer, my son, he has trouble with the...
Molto bene.
Toronto, Cannes, Berlin, and Sundance, everybody chat about. Good movies, chat about. Good movies, chat about. Good movies. Good movies. Good movies. Oh, hello and welcome to the Good Movie Chat About, where we have good chats about good movies with good guests. I'm Bobby, aka Lord Gugu, and we're here to chat about not just a couple of good movies this week, but many people would tell you that they are in fact the best movies. Hey, thanks for the follow, Slime Golem, and also Damn You Peachy as well. Thank you for those follows. Welcome everybody else. Anyone feel free to follow if you're not yet. Even subscribe. Hey, I mean, no pressure. And if you are watching this later on YouTube, please do remember to like and subscribe, or else you will bring dishonor to your family and sleep with the fishes, obviously. Wow, why is it making noise for chats? I don't like that. Okay, I don't know why that's happening. Hopefully... Thanks, Pelk, for watching. Hey, everybody. We have the absolute perfect guest today to talk about the Godfather films. He's a very accomplished writer, podcaster, and, just all-around great internet personality, I might even say. That might piss him off to say, but he currently hosts the Outfit podcast, one of my favorite new podcasts, which is all about how the mafia explains all of modern society and politics, and it's none other than, as Quentin Tarantino would say, Chicago nobody, Dan O'Sullivan. Sorry, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I just remembered I do have a prior
Oh no! Right away, I blew it.
So I will have no.
On this.
Thank you so much for having me on this, the day of your daughter's wedding. I
Yes.
just realized. Am I coming through okay sound wise?
Yeah, you sound great. Look great. It's great to have you. I don't know why my chat is making noise. That is something that's gonna drive me crazy. So
what are making noise? Like the followers or the like alerts?
I think it's when sometimes people just chat when there's a new chat, and then when the people chat after that first chat, it doesn't. But then after, if you like a few seconds go when somebody chats, it's like, hey, someone's chatting. It's like, okay, thanks, appreciate it. Thanks everybody for chatting. We'll figure it out. Actually, I wonder if maybe I can. Is there a way to... No, I don't know. See, now it's not doing it, so maybe it's something else. It's another alert on my computer that I just don't know where it's coming from.
We'll live.
We will absolutely live. Dan, I really have to say I love the podcast, and it's actually atypical for me because usually the podcast that I choose to listen to and I choose to spend my time on this hellish existence, if I'm putting on a podcast, I want something that will actively make me dumber. So I reach for Your Kickstarter Sucks, the BigSoftTitty.png, etc. stores. And yours, regretfully, I do learn, but I still enjoy it a great deal. So I always learn something as well with your podcast. So it's very, feel honored that you're my one source of learning nowadays on podcasts.
This is a very dark time for, media literacy, for knowing anything that's going on, and it's a real honor to clear the lowest possible bar that exists in order to provide that, So, thank you. In all seriousness, thank you. It's like, not to get too whatever, but with the outfit, it's like, I think you can have your vegetables and some dessert, I think you can have a little of both. That's what we're trying to do at least. So
yeah, I mean,
that's very nice to hear.
It helps that it's it's that kind of just like what we're going to talk about today, that very sort of crime-ridden world. I mean, the one I was sort of getting into it, but I have a hard time usually with like the educational, for lack of a better word, podcasts. I mean, the one that I listened to, I bet you probably did as well, was Crime Town. Did you listen to that one about Providence? Well, the first season, I think they did multiple seasons, and I think the first season was about like Providence and Buddy Cianci.
Buddy Cianci. I've heard of this. I mean, here's the big secret I have. I am the least listened to podcast host ever. It's really quite pathetic.
No, it's not.
I'm having trouble with my camera right now. Like, I'm so not cut out for this.
You're fine.
But I find myself like, so people ask me like, you ever read, about this podcast or listen to this and I'm like, no. I'm like, I am such an ignoramus.
Well, those are always the ones that people want to recommend too, are the ones that are like, hey, this one that's like about like an investigate. Hey, thanks for Squishy Cup for the follow. That's like, this is really cool. And I'm like, I like the one where they like talk about like coming every other sentence. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'm listening to.
Well, yeah, but the flip side is like I remember when we were first starting out, making our podcast, right? Which it is a crime podcast. It is a true crime podcast, though I don't really think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That the one goal I had in mind was if it sounds like Michael Barbaro doing the Daily, or some other hosts, I won't, we failed. It needs to somehow sound like, DB talking about Optimus Prime,
Right?
Having a UTI.
Yeah, you definitely aren't. You're not dropping into Hourglass NPR voice very often in there.
And I'm surprised, like, there's no, there's a lot of crime shows that do that, like, then the murderer went here and did this with the blood, and it's like, all right, and also, we're just talking about the mob. It's just.
Well, yeah, and that's like the shooting the shit feeling you want. Just like a couple of friends being like, this, like, I just read about, or I know all about this crazy figure or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think I just want to get right into it. Usually I do like a little bit of like, well, what are we talking about? Oh, although I do want to further finish explaining to you, because I started to explain to you before the source of my name. I mean, it's not a good story. Because I was telling Dan, and I'll let the chat audience in a little bit know that I am toying with dropping the Gugu name, because it's very embarrassing. It's stupid. And Dan's, mentioned, that might upset Tim Heidecker. And actually, I had my name, Lord Gugu, a full calendar year before Tim's special, where he did the Lord Gugu joke, which is amazing. And is a sound alert on this stream, actually, is him saying, what's that, Lord Gugu?
It'd be insane not to have it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean.
So, and it really was just, I was like, I had the stupid thought of the opposite of Lady Gaga is Lord Gugu. That made me laugh, and I was like, I need a stupid name for Twitch right now, and I just made that my name. And
so
then
alternative, not only did you not take it from Tim Heidecker, you could do like a Joe Rogan, Carlos Mencia type feud where you claim it was taken from you by Tim Heidecker.
Certainly could not be parallel thought. I mean, it takes a really original mind like mine to come up with Lord Gugu, for sure.
Obviously, Tim Heidecker wasn't parodying a bad stand-up comedian coming with a joke.
Right.
So how could that be a parallel thought, right? It's not possible.
Yeah, exactly. No. But yeah, so that's the Lord Gugu, but you can also just call me Bobby, and there's the sound. It's fine. Hey, the sound is going to drive me crazy, but I'll get used to it. Dan, The Godfather. I assume you've seen it before.
Yeah.
I've
seen it.
When did you first watch it? Actually, I'm curious.
I know for certain it was USA Network, the basic cable channel, made a big deal in the 90s of playing all the Godfather movies, I think around the holidays sometime. And I think, if I recall correctly, they called it the Godfather Saga, which...
I saw this. It re-edits it so that it's all chronological? Is that right?
Yeah, which I don't think they aired it like that, so I might be misremembering
They did in the 70s. This is what I found out this week, was that, they did... Well, so I guess it would have been just Godfather 1 and 2 then, so it wouldn't have... Obviously. Well, we'll get into Godfather 3. I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I did watch it for the first time this week, so I need to talk about it. But we'll get to that later.
That one, it's been a while since I saw it. But I will say, so I saw it in USA, and it was some sort of block where it was 1 and 2. I don't think they did the chronological thing of the saga. I've never seen that version, and actually I think that would be kind of weird. But I remember they extended... They did add a lot of scenes that are not ordinarily in the cuts of it. We could talk about what some of those were because they were kind of interesting. But that was the first time I saw it. I fondly remember watching it with my dad, and yeah, it was on USA Network, so it was a little edited, but too badly.
Right, because it's mostly
Actually-
just graphic violence, which we're all fine with. I mean, you know,
Sort of, and
it's
it's
not
like
even that
there's
much language. I mean, there's some language, but you know.
But I was just thinking about that. There's not that much profanity.
Mhm.
There's not really any sex, anything like that. So it was a fairly clean, watch of it.
I think I found. I'm sorry. I am still paying attention to you, Dan, but I do think I found the button to mute that sound. So I am here now.
We stay winning.
Yeah. So I saw this. I think I saw the first one in high school, and at a friend's house, and then which was crazy because that means that you were at the friend's house for like 3+ hours. Yes, Cyber Arcanist, thank you for chatting and proving that I did turn off the chat alert sound. So everybody, please, if you were holding back from chatting because you were worried about throwing me off, you're clear.
No longer.
Godfather 2, I had watched like the middle part of it, or I'd watched like the second half of it out of context, and I like hadn't seen, and I'd seen like the movie in pieces, but it wasn't until like maybe a couple years ago that I finally watched Godfather 2 beginning to end. And yeah, I mean, so when I started this podcast, Dan, the whole idea of it was that I didn't want one of these podcasts. I mean, there's plenty of podcasts where people talk about bad movies, people talk about the newest movies, and we talk about is it good or bad or whatever. And I'm like, I want to talk about movies that are like there's no discussion here. These are good movies. Whether it's like everybody likes the movie or not, it's like this has been agreed that this is an important good movie. And like the example that I always use is The Godfather, because that is just like the most classic. Yeah, this is my favorite movie. So it just looms like, obviously The Godfather and The Godfather 2 are good movies. So discussion over. Thanks for being here, Dan. Everybody will be here next time.
But I know what you mean. It's like, all my life I heard, Citizen Kane is #1, and there's a temptation that creeps into your head of saying, it's probably not that great. I don't care. And then you see it and you're like, oh, that was really good.
Mm-hmm. The first time I watched Citizen Kane was on a plane on my phone, and I loved it. It still hit.
Meant for it to be seen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I still loved it. I still was like, yeah, I fucking get it. I mean, especially because so much of the the newsreel and all the kind of that whole thing is just like hadn't been done before and impacted everything after. It's like, and The Godfather is so the same way, especially when it comes to like mafia films, which like, were there other mafia films before The Godfather that were as big, like that had anywhere near the sort of cachet?
So interestingly, they had kind of, short answer is yes. We can go back.
Scarface and stuff like that, I guess, but yeah.
That's right. And while Al Capone was still alive, they were competing to crank these out. And I do love
the Hawk Scarface is awesome. That movie rips. It's like so violent, it's crazy.
There's a scene in the Howard Hawks Scarface where it's showing the Capone character. I'm sorry, I may be thinking of The Public Enemy. Someone will have to remind me, with Jimmy Cagney. But it's a young tough as a youngster running up the subway platform, and he knocks a rich guy's hat off as he's running up it. And that, to me, sums up the whole appeal of these movies, right? Like, this guy coming from nowhere is going to grab, whatever. So there were all these movies. We just started on The Outfit. We recorded it. It's going to start in the new year. A series of 10 episodes about Al Capone's life. So I'm really excited for that. And we just started with Young Capone, so it's been on my mind a lot lately. But to that point, yeah, there had been mob movies. There had been a lot of, Warner Brothers obviously loved gangster movies in that time. And then a little later, it becomes a bit more of a low-budget thing, making mafia movies, noir movies, dealing with organized crime a lot. And then, I will say, before The Godfather gets made, and it gets bought at a record amount of money by Robert Evans, studios thought mafia stories were poison. Like, there was a movie called The Brotherhood with Kirk Douglas, about the mafia, and it was a really good director, Martin Ritt, who made a lot of good movies, but it flopped. And part of the hesitation around The Godfather was that was fresh in the memory, but I think Coppola might have said he thought the reason the Brotherhood didn't do well was it was made by non-Italians. So you know, so obviously that sort of leads us to the road to the Godfather.
I mean, and but like to your point, like the noirs and things like that. I mean, like yeah, there's certainly lots of films that like deal with mafioso kind of characters or just gangsters, but like they don't get into the organization too much typically. I mean, like when it's something like Scarface where it's about the guy at the top of the gang, maybe they do a bit more, but like it's not really, I mean, and especially not in the scope here that we're talking. Like this is like, I mean, it's you know, it had to like be conjured here. Like the imagination for like this sort of epic treatment of like a mafia family, to me, like it was born here in the early 70s by Francis Ford Coppola, kind of. Does that seem fair?
Well, I think so, and I think we have to give a lot of credit to Mario Puzo,
right?
Who I think.
Have you read the book? Actually, I wanted to.
I have. I was going to say I have read the book. The book is good.
Okay.
And you know, often in these sorts of cases, the book is not necessarily good. The book is pretty good. It also devotes a lot more time in it to the Johnny Fontaine character, who is based on Frank Sinatra.
I am so excited to talk about this because there's a couple of things that I think are really interesting about it. I mean, you know, like just the fact that he's Frank Sinatra and like that whole connection. Also, one of my favorite Frank Sinatra film performances is alongside Marlon Brando in Guys and Dolls, where he's Nathan Detroit. Anyway, I just think that's interesting. And then like this character is like everybody knows it's Frank Sinatra, kind of, it seems like, or at least now. Maybe I don't know if they knew as obviously at the time, did they? I don't know.
They did, and in fact, Mario Puzo had an anecdote. I mean, Frank Sinatra. Part of the reason, there are a few reasons Johnny Fontaine is a relatively small character in the movie. He's played by Al Martino, who's a singer in his own right.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a bunch of reasons he's not a bigger character, but part of it is that Frank Sinatra was extremely angry at the depiction of him in it, even though I don't think it's particularly. It's too close to home with him. And I think the main thing is that Frank Sinatra, like a lot of celebrities in that orbit, were kind of groupies of the mafia, and he would embarrass himself regularly saying things like, if I wasn't a singer, I'd be a mafia don. Like he said that for real once. And the mafia, look, he was a joke to them. He was a front guy. They used him for gaming licenses in Nevada. They used him and it was a joke to them that he was a tough guy. He was not a tough guy. And Mario Puzo, anyway, had an anecdote about Frank Sinatra threatening him in a restaurant, making a big scene. But, you know, the stuff about how he got the role in From Here to Eternity, which is in the Godfather, there seems to be some basis in truth for that.
Yeah. And that's like, he still had a long, you know, successful career and everything, but yeah, the strings were pulled. I mean, I guess that's like where I guess I want to start is like the general myth versus reality here, because Mario Puzo was not somebody that was in, you know, the milieu or whatever. I mean, he's an Italian guy, but he didn't have family that, at least immediate family to my knowledge, that were involved in organized crime or anything. He was just kind of like an Italian kid from New York who went to the war and came back and started writing books, or he started writing books actually while he was stationed. So yeah, I mean, but I know that like the five families and all that kind of stuff, like that's all real. So how does the myth and reality kind of compare here?
I mean, a lot of the stuff in The Godfather is based on true events. And, like, to the point, I wouldn't say it's one-to-one, but I could go through and pick out... It would be easy to go out and pick out the things that are real, that are similar. You know, starting with Don Corleone, you know, he certainly resembles Carlo Gambino, um, in some respects. I've also heard Joe Bonanno put forth as a model for that. Um, but the closer ones are like the Johnny Fontaine and Frank Sinatra thing. The anecdote about the band leader being threatened by Luca Brasi to release him from the contract. Again, this is a real incident that I think happened with either Artie Shaw or Benny Goodman, one of the two band leaders, and Frank Sinatra. The characters of Mo Green. So Mo Green's, Mo Green is Benny Siegel.
Right.
Bugsy Siegel. Mm-hmm. In the second one, Hyman Roth is pretty clearly Meyer Lansky.
Yes.
So, there's a bunch of these things like that that are just more or less straight up based on real people.
Yeah.
But I just want to give credit again to Puzo, his sort of world building. I hate that term, but it's such a rich world that he constructs of all these families, all these figures. The characters are so good that even if he takes from reality at times, like it's really rich and layered, like you've sort of got at.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's certainly like the setting, and it's great to have those sort of identifiable reality like touch points, like Mo Green and those things that that you understand where the reality is, but the dramatis personae, to sound really pretentious, to put it that way, especially I think the central relationship in the two movies of Vito and Michael, and that whole reflection of the two of them. I mean, that is dramatic development. That is, and that's the screenplay. And so that's Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola, and also what he put in the book. And the real detail, I agree, is and texture comes from the family, and how that sort of family relationship, the family obligation, the fact that you're not supposed to kill your brother type of thing. You're not but you have the fuck up brother, you have the hothead brother, you have the one that's going to be the good brother, the John F. Kennedy brother that we're going to try to that all just maps out so well. And the performances are just across the board until we get to 3 are great.
Yeah, it goes a little overboard there, but no, that's a good point. Listen, one of the stories that I've been most interested in right now going on in the world is the story of Prince Andrew in the UK, and royal stories are not ones I typically have any interest in or enjoy, and I've been voraciously reading about this because it's not, if you have an uncle who's a fuck up, this doesn't feel like that different a story from it. The king has to figure out what to do with his idiot brother who's fucked everything up. And if you have an uncle with an addiction or a mental health problem or something like that, it's not that different. And I think that's a big part of why, the Godfather movies are so beloved, which is you have, and it's the same thing that Sopranos does too. You have this exaggerated or rather dramatic setting, but then what is going on inside of it is so relatable. I mean, and that's where we get into it's Shakespeare, it's opera, it's and
I think King Charles, just like Tony and just like Michael, are anti-hero, right? He's a piece of shit completely, but also you understand the human family element of how do I deal with this kind of thing, and because of their position, it's automatically interesting to see how will this play out kind of thing.
Well, I mean, Prince William is sort of doing a Michael Corleone thing of trying to assert himself over this royal family and get this uncle out of the way. And, I think that's kind of cool, to be honest, Right,
because...
And I fucking hate the royal family, but it's relatable in some way.
Well, and I think that the trending attitude, worldwide, and it certainly is against the hyper elite, and so you start to feel the pressure of that. And if you're, looking past these horrific crimes, then that's not going to help your case. So if you are responsive to that, maybe that puts you in a bit of a better standing or something. So,
Well, I mean, this is I think Coppola said like something like The Godfather. The alternate name could be something like The Rise and Fall of Michael Corleone, and that's the story of The Godfather ultimately. And you can understand Michael's desire to exert his control to keep this family together. And of course, the great tragedy is the more he tries to do that, the more he loses his family. And that's really the story of The Godfather when you take all the trappings aside. That it is, the more he tries to control things, the less control he has of them. And until by the real end of the trilogy, he's left alone.
Yeah. Well, and even I think I really, really love the last scene in 2, where it's the flashback of them all having. They're about to celebrate Vito's birthday, and it's all the family, and even Abe Vigoda comes back. It always makes me so happy to see Abe Vigoda.
Yeah.
But like that way that it ends with they've all left, and Michael feels like this tremendous burden and pressure from his family, and he's all alone. And like that's totally like what you're saying.
That's such a great scene. It is funny in that I know for a fact they wanted to have Marlon Brando come back for that. He asked such a high fee that they shot it around him. Which is better, actually. I think it works better.
I mean, this is approaching his, Superman era, where he was just demanding the absolute ridiculous checks and then sleepwalking through the whole thing.
And so I think it works better with him unseen, where everyone else is in the other room yelling surprise, and Michael has. And it's such an interesting parallel decision of he is enlisted. Pearl Harbor has just happened. He's enlisted in the Marines, and his family is baffled. He's going the absolute opposite direction of the family business, and now at the end, he's the avatar of the family business, and he's lost his family. So,
and I think it's from, and again, like the whole, that's why I say, like the central relationship of Michael and Vito is because he follows. And the reason that I think Vito ultimately chooses Michael as his successor and why he wants him is because he knows that the most important thing to him is like that whole thing about I will get revenge on my people that wrong me, on my enemies, against my family. And I mean, like the story of Robert De Niro in Part 2. Robert De Niro in the early 70s is the hottest any man has ever looked, I think. Like, it's up there with, like, the hottest of Paul Newman and, like, everybody. Ooh, boy. He's looking good in this movie.
He's a handsome fella. And he, look, this is, I go back and forth on which of the two movies I like more. But the sequence, like, in the same way that I really like the show Better Call Saul, right? In that it does something that seems almost impossible to pull off, which is you have a whole other TV show, and then you're going to take this TV show and it's going to have a different focus and interpret it in a totally new way. It just lends itself to this richness that you didn't even have, you couldn't have had in the first one, just because it didn't happen yet, right? And so when you watch the second one and you're realizing, like, and it's not in a corny way, like, oh, this is Clemenza. This is Bruno Kirby as a young Clemenza entering his world, and a young Tessio, and this is how he, I mean, to your point with revenge, right? Like, I believe the opening shot of The Godfather Part 2 is Vito's brother lying dead in Sicily, having engaged in one of the vendettas in Sicily that also claimed his father. And so this is it. This is what he's born into from the beginning.
And then it claims his mother, and then he barely gets away as a small boy, and like that. And then he rises through the ranks and becomes this powerful, and he has this big family, and you think, oh, he's made it, and he still has to go, go back to Sicily, and he has to close the loop. He has to still seek his revenge. And I just love that.
I would never. I mean, I think it speaks to what a powerful thing revenge is, even if it is hollow ultimately. I mean, this is the. I don't know that the Godfather. I guess it ultimately concludes it is. Yeah, it does actually. I'll talk a little bit more why I say that, but listen. I wrote a magazine article about Ken Edo, the Chicago mobster. Was the sole Japanese American member of the mob, and it's really all about revenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's about him taking revenge on the mob after they betray him, and it is such a. I really didn't realize what a powerful concept that is with people and audiences. It is like intoxicating stories of revenge. It really taps into something strong with us, and it comes up again and again in The Godfather, right? I mean, what does Vito do finally when he has a success? He goes back to Sicily to kill the guy, the mafia don who killed his family.
How do they bait out Santino, Sonny, to take him out? Is because they know he's going to want revenge for Connie's husband beating the crap out of her. Things like that.
Right, that's his great weakness. And by the end of the second one, Michael's thirst for revenge, it's shown to be just so self-destructive, so toxic and corrosive that, Hyman Roth is on the run. He's longer a threat.
Days from death. He's is so ill that he's going to die very soon.
Frank Pantangeli is behind bars. He's never going anywhere, and it doesn't matter. They have to have a reprise of the baptism killings from the first one for no reason. Really, it's just other than the ruthless need for control.
Mm-hmm. And ego almost, and it's and it's the most ego-driven people, it's all exerting your power. It's all I love that, it's such an indelible image of this movie that everybody goes back to, and it's the first big show of power in the first movie is the horse head, and I love that. It's and it's because he loves this horse, it's his prize horse or whatever, and you see the blood, and you're like, oh god, you already know it's going to be something with and just that is, and it's just the pure ego bruise. That's all that they're after here, it seems.
Yeah, that they know, and I think this is true sometimes of. This is true of people who are narcissists or have personality disorders, where they will somehow figure out your one weak spot and then hammer away just at that, and with Jack Waltz, the great character played by John Marley, Tom Hagen observes the pride he has in this horse, and that's what they're going to go for, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's just, what am I going to say other than that's so great? That's great. I will say, I do know that they used a real horse in the scene, a real horse's head in the scene.
Jesus.
Which animal rights people didn't like. And then there was a brief scare about the horse having some sort of disease where the actor John Marley became seriously concerned that he was going to be sickened from that. So that's a little behind-the-scenes thing, and he's a great actor. He's in the Shadows, the John Cassavetes movie.
Oh, okay.
And he's wonderful in the movie as Waltz, who's based on, again, another character based on, probably Jack Warner, but also has Harry Cohn, has a couple other real life.
Showbiz big wig type of guy. Yeah.
I think there's an allusion to Louis B. Mayer.
Yeah.
It's sort of edited out that I've seen it in some that he's giving a birthday cake to a Shirley Temple type performer, and this is based on Louis B. Mayer being a child molester. I mean, was a pedophile at the tormented Judy Garland.
The golden age of Hollywood is full of these types of characters, unfortunately. Very
That's
much.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, also another of the fine collection of actors, and we'll shout them all out here. But one that I definitely want to shout out because, of course, we recently lost Diane Keaton, recently passed away, and what a great performance, especially in the first two. Again, I hate to keep bringing up Godfather 3, but I did just watch it yesterday, and man, they like of all the sins in that movie, the way that her character is just treated is maybe one of the worst. But she is so good in these movies. I mean, like the when like Michael like lies directly to her face, where she's like, "Do you do this?" It's like that, and he's like, "No," or whatever, however it's phrased. It's like that is like the real moment of no return for Michael. It's like Michael's not just like going down this path; he is like walling off her from it, and like like he is all on his own right there.
I mean, I think the only person who has a more painful role to play is John Cazale as Fredo.
Yeah.
Because in the first one, she has to be almost a figure of fun in a way. Like, she's so out of her element and so naive, and in a way that Connie is not, you know.
Well, and it's great with like that Michael's introduction, is alongside her, and they seem like such a pair that makes sense there. And it is like, how are they here? Like, how are these two people? How is he a part of this family? Like, and so you start from there, so that the whole, like you say, the whole arc of his character is just all the more impressive to witness.
Yeah, and the second one, I mean, this is, I forget which critic wrote the famous essay about, the Godfather movies being misogynistic, and it's been a while since I've read that. I never found it particularly convincing, just in the sense that, I mean, I suppose that's true in a sense, but it's also like, but yeah, that's the world.
It's the accurate reflection of the world they're showing. I mean, how can you say it's not? In fact, I feel like, in some ways, thinking about what came after with Godfather, and especially The Sopranos, that actually this really is glorifying it in a real way. Like, we aren't getting some of the like really uglier like sort of things. Like, even like, okay, we know that Sonny sleeps around on his wife or something, right? But like, that's really like the only one that we know that has a gumar or whatever they call them, like, which we know like those would be much more, I don't know, widespread. And also just like how moral or like the whole looking down on dealing dope or whatever, and like that whole presentation of them as having like this code and things like that. Like, it's a very romanticized glorification kind of portrayal in a way, even though of course there's also all the violence and all that kind of stuff, that the fallout of all that happens.
So a lot of people make that case, and I don't agree. I'll explain why. That it's almost taken as secondhand, just received knowledge that, oh yeah, The Godfather glorifies the mafia. And then I think we have a bunch of guys who murder a woman in a brothel in Nevada to set up a senator, right? We have a guy who murders his brother. We have, we have people who lie to their families to the point where they have abortions in revenge against.
Right.
I guess my feeling has always been like, I don't feel like I saw the same movie as the people who say it glorifies it, other than to say there is glory in having power.
Right.
It does, but it's morally quite neutral. Like, I just have never bought that. I feel like if you are saying this glorifies the mafia, as like a negative thing, saying you don't like that this is glorious to people.
Right.
Well,
I think that
a different complaint, right?
Well, I think that, so like where a lot of it gets maybe muddy for people, or where they might get that impression, is I think because what they do, like you're saying, when they get this power, is the glorification of themselves. Like they're myth making of themselves. And where I think the movie is so good is, it comes from a very Italian man as well, and like it has this real and of course the way that Coppola made movies then is like when there's the big family wedding, that's actually all his family, like all around there. It's like all of his kids are in all the movies, like Roman plays young Santino or something, I think, Roman Coppola, and like who of course now like co-writes with Wes Anderson, and Sophia is a baby in the second one at one point, so like and like, so they are, like, the movie has this myth-making kind of quality of it that, but, like, the thing about a myth is, so, like, there's the shiny, on top, but then, of course, there's also the moral, right? And so it's, like, the people, like, see it, and it's so beautifully filmed, and it's, like, just so stunningly shot that I think people confuse maybe that for this is wonderful, but actually it's just, like, it's wonderful storytelling. Like, it's what it is. It's like, it's really taking you through this whole experience in such a, like, complete way.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I also just want to say, like, this is another reason I push back on the whole glorification idea that it glorifies it is this is also the aristocracy in the mafia world, right? Like, if you want to go out and watch movies about the runts, like there's Goodfellas for that. Like those are the movies that accurately, this is just one sliver of a sliver, to me at least, and it's also them at their, the mafia's height, really. We're talking about post-World War II. The next 20 years are going to be the golden age of the mafia. So it's also particularly rich and really the height of their power. It
has a feeling of like a Shakespearean history play kind of thing, right? Of
absolutely.
It's like they're like you're setting them up because like in like the Royals, like the same sort of idea of like these are the people that are at the top of the top when they are at the top of the top before it all comes down. So like of course that's going to be really interesting, and of course it's going to be glamorous because these are the top people.
And when we get into the muck sometimes, and it's, like I said, when we see Fredo in Las Vegas, like, okay, what is this movie we're suddenly in?
Right.
Where he goes to see Mo Green, and it's just sleazy and like so. It contains multitudes and then the second one when Michael goes to Cuba.
Oh yeah,
it's like okay,
I love the Cuba sequence. Ugh, I love that whole
This
sequence.
is like. We're really out of their area of control here now. Like Michael seeing
and Michael, being the only one that like recognizes that he's like, I think that actually, and I just love all the hubris in that whole sequence. I mean, they lay it on real thick, where they're just like, oh yeah, America will never pull out of Cuba. We're here forever. And I mean, I'm sure that that's exactly how, cocky they all were. Even in the midst of an ongoing revolution that they were just denying was happening, kind of.
I mean, it's not subtle that the cake is of Cuba, and they carve up the cake, and they hand out the slices. Obviously, we get what he's trying to say there.
And we should shout out, I do want to also, I mean, of course, we haven't even talked about Al Pacino, who's, like, this is probably, I mean, like, what a career. And I think that when people think, of like the Pacino type of what Pacino became, like Devil's Advocate Pacino, Scent of a Woman Pacino. I love small Pacino when he can be really small. And I love when he can be really big too. And my favorite are the ones where he does both. Which The Godfather does a little bit, but he stays, especially in the first one, he stays very small. But like Dog Day Afternoon with, again, John Cazale, one of his 5 movies that he was in before he died that got nominated for Best Picture. Like, that's my favorite Pacino. But also Hiram, played by Lee Strasberg, probably the most important acting teacher of the 20th century. And in fact, I believe Al Pacino's acting teacher, as well as Robert De Niro's. So it's so, like, that's such a cool thing to have them acting together and all the loaded stuff in their relationship and how he is like, oh no, I can't trust this guy, even though he had such an important relationship with my father, who's everything to me, and having to like work through all of that. Like, you didn't need their personal relationship outside of the movie, but somehow like that, it all feeds into that. And I the Cuba part is like my favorite in two. It used to be the Senate subcommittee part, but now I like the Cuba part more. That's my favorite part.
The Senate subcommittee, and I highly recommend, you can look up on YouTube real video footage of the McClellan hearings in the Senate with these mobsters. The most colorful one is of Jimmy Hoffa. And Robert F. Kennedy embarrassing himself over and over. Really, one of the most overrated figures of the 20th century to me is Robert F. Kennedy. But
well, surely he won't be the most embarrassing person with that name. So that's good.
I mean,
I actually
you have to give him credit.
So I'm outside of DC, Dan. So I was actually talking last week. I had Jane Aust from the Batting Around podcast, and so I was telling her that when I went to the only time I saw a Nationals game was when they were still playing at RFK Stadium, and I was like just saying the name of the stadium, and I was like, oh, like no, and now they're going to redevelop it, and yeah, it's yeah. He could have just been like, oh yeah, he died, so we vaguely like him type of figure, but no, now because of his son.
Well,
even though, as you say, yes, massively overrated guy who really didn't accomplish much of anything.
I mean, again, if you want to talk about a mafia family,
Right.
Kennedy's did.
I mean, when Vito talks about his plan for Michael, it is like exactly Joe Kennedy's plan for John, or no, actually for Joseph Jr. that dies, right? Yeah,
right, who dies in World War II, and I wonder if that influenced Puzo at all. I never thought about that, but obviously,
I mean, that would certainly make sense, because I mean, talk about a figure that impacted, I mean, the family that impacted culture in such a big way, right in the '60s that he's ringing, yeah.
That's right, and Joseph Kennedy, not unknown in the underworld either, for that matter,
or in Hollywood, actually, because as I was researching, I did Sunset Boulevard a few months ago, and so Gloria Swanson, I didn't know that until I was researching that they had a decades long, that was his full on mistress.
I think he owned or partially owned RKO for a number of years too, so he, really a monstrous guy. But yeah, his, I guess, grandson, RFK Jr., I mean, if I look at his career, he's a shakedown artist. That's what he does. He would go around to these towns that had pollution issues or something. He'd say, I'm going to, make a big racket unless you kind of pay me off, and go on his way. And that's a racket. So. I mean, too far afield here.
Well, luckily he doesn't have too much power, and it's all okay. So, Cazale is back to Fredo is so good. I mean, what an amazing portrayal of the fuck up brother in such a sympathetic way. Like, I love when the first attempt is made on Vito's life, and he's fumbling the gun. He's he can't even get the gun in his hand to fire back when his father has just been gunned down in front of him. I mean, and then of course, everything that happens in 2. And I agree that him going to Vegas and then all of a sudden feeling almost more comfortable there in this kind of, like you said, lowy, kind of grimy kind of place, and it does sort of really bleed into his character and the way that Michael feels about him, especially when Michael is living there in Lake Tahoe in the second movie. And it's great. I also want to talk about Talia Shire, because I always love Talia Shire. In fact, Talia Shire is the only part of Godfather 3 I liked, because I liked the idea of her being like a consigliere / now she's the mama kind of figure.
Right.
Which also I think is really funny that Mama Corleone in 2 of these movies doesn't have a name. Just Mama Corleone, young Mama. When he meets her, we don't see Vito meeting her. They don't show that that courtship or anything. It's just all of a sudden they're together, and then they're having kids. I don't know. Not to say that the movie is misogynistic necessarily, but when there are these who should be big characters, because she is a big character. I mean, like, she does have like a lot of sway. Like, I love when Talia Shire shows up in the at the beginning of the second movie, and Mama doesn't like her new man or whatever, and like all of how that sort of infects everything. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Listen, and I want to be clear that the famous essay I mentioned about The Godfather being misogynist, it's also not entirely off base. Clearly, Coppola is not. I think even on Megalopolis had some issues with women. This is not his strong suit. Okay. Mm-hmm. We are dealing with a very patriarchal Southern Italian structure, and a man of a certain generation here.
And a man who, we could get into it, has his own, skeletons and dark corners. Victor Salva, all that,
Yeah, I mean, so it's not like it's entirely off base. I just always felt like, it is a misogynistic world that we're just depicting.
For sure.
Here, right? With that said, Talia Shire, I mean, you mentioned a sequence I love of her coming to Lake Tahoe with this white bread boyfriend who has no money.
Mm-hmm. And she's not living with her kids. The kids are staying with them, and they're being raised there, and they're like, "You're a deadbeat mom," kind of thing.
And I love the scene around the dinner table with that, and also Fredo's non-Italian wife, who gets drunk. And she finds her way to the dance floor with the white bread boyfriend. And it's like, you two really need to go off together and not be in this world,
You're in danger. You're not supposed to be here.
This is not for you. But Talia Shire, I mean, I really like, probably the best scene with her to me is she goes to Michael at the mother's funeral and kind of goes to bat for Fredo in a way that no one else at that point can.
Yeah.
And they think it works, right? They think that he has forgiven his brother, and then the absolutely chilling part where he looks up at his hitman Al Neri, and Al Neri even looks away. He's so disturbed. Like, I can't believe I'm being tasked with killing this guy's brother. Mm-hmm. Even he doesn't like it entirely. And that's all without words.
Yep.
Which, I mean, is just a testament to how good the performances are.
Well, and another thing so there's a couple of harbingers of doom in this movie. One is oranges, because there's the
famously.
oranges. Yes, the oranges both times that Vito. Well, first time when he gets shot, and then he's playing with the oranges with the kid. Also, and then playing with kids, because he's playing with the little kid. I forget what the relationship of the kid is.
It's Michael's son, so his grandson.
Okay, yeah, and he's playing with him in the garden, and then he has a heart attack, and he dies. And it's just, and then John Cazale, and one of the really heartbreaking parts is then at the end, and it's also Michael's son, saying, "Oh, let's go fishing. We're gonna go fishing in the morning," and then right as they're about to leave, it's Talia Shire comes out. Connie comes out and says, "No, you're going to Reno right now. You can't go on the boat with them." And Fredo says, "Well, we'll do tomorrow morning, or next time." And it's like, oh man. And this was when I watched 3 yesterday. I was like, what a missed opportunity. And like, you have the character, and now he's a singer or whatever. He doesn't want to go in, and that's all fine. But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about 3 for too long. I do think that it's overstated how much Sofia Coppola ruins the movie. She certainly isn't good. The circumstances around how she got to be the part are actually very interesting. There's this YouTube essayist I really like that makes YouTube essays about movies called Be Kind Rewind, and she did a series of Godfather 3 and Sofia Coppola videos that I really recommend people check out. But yeah, you compare how good the Cuba stuff is in 2 to how dead on arrival all the shit with the Catholic churches in 3. Like, how none of it has any juice. It doesn't go anywhere. Like,
it's so bad. We should talk about it a little bit in terms of, I think you're right, what a missed opportunity it was. Now, starting with, I believe the way that it was pitched initially would have been potentially fantastic, which is Tom Hagen, played by Robert Duvall, testifies against Michael Corleone. And
Mm.
that's what the third one is about. That him turning against the family, that it has been seeded throughout the first two movies why he would ever do that, right? Because he's been so mistreated. They didn't want to meet Duvall's fee, so they changed it into this shit. Now, the stuff that does happen in the third, I imagine fewer people watching have seen it. It is based on real events.
This is what I wanted to get at with 3 is how much of this is real? Especially, I wanted the fucking the helicopter shootout. I mean, like.
That is so stupid, that part. I mean, so, okay.
That looks like De Palma's Scarface. Like, that's what that looks like. It's, like, so ridiculous and over the top.
The stuff with him and the John Gotti character played by Joe Mantegna is kind of the low point of the... And Andy Garcia. These are the low points of the movies. Not Sofia Coppola, who was out of her depth, but whatever.
Right. It's not a big enough part in the movie to ruin it as much as people said they do. I think it was classic sexism to kind of... I mean, of the media of the time and stuff to overemphasize. It
was his daughter, so it
yeah,
was
and I mean,
like...
the nepotism is obvious there. But for people who don't know, the Cliff's Notes is Winona Ryder was signed to do that movie. She's in her early 20s, had been working continuously for like over 3 years, no break, and was just like hitting an exhaustion point where she had a full like exhaustion breakdown in Italy or whatever, where they were starting filming, and went home. And the movie was supposed to start filming in like a week, and they were going to have to delay, and instead Francis Ford Coppola said, no, Sophia can do it, it's fine. And
yeah, so I mean, it's, you know, Winona, I could have seen that.
But again, like, Winona Ryder's in the movie's not good. Like, that doesn't make the movie good.
That's right. That's right.
It's not the problem.
Yeah, no. So I mean, the main plot of The Godfather Part 3 involves the Vatican Bank, and this he's changed to be Austrian, I think, in it. This scam artist banker. Now, this is all based on a real scam that happened. It was a bank called Banco Ambrosiano, and this banker Michele Sindona. And it is all really interesting stories. It just didn't involve the U.S. Mafia. It involved the Sicilian Cosa Nostra. And also, why are we talking about this? And also, why, like you alluded to, the Diane Keaton role in the third one, I'll never forget this. She says to Michael in it, "I never stopped loving you." And that's not true.
Yes. Like, literally, that contradicts the most powerful scene in 2 that they had at the end of Godfather Part 2.
Like, that is enough to sort of ruin the movie. Like, the great strength of the second one, in terms of how it deals with women, is Diane Keaton's arc in that, of her striking back to hurt him in the only way she can, but the most vicious way she can, right? Yeah. Of having this abortion of another son. And then the way he treats her the rest of the movie, without violence, is some of the most violent.
The closing of the door is like, damn, that's like, yeah, like just as brutal as, you know, point blank shooting someone in the head. Like when he shoots Sterling Hayden in the first movie or whatever. Like, it's just as brutal as that.
And that's like, and look, when he shoots Sterling Hayden and the Turk, Solozzo, who looks identical to Andrew Cuomo, you know, fuck them. Right. You know, like, what's great? You know, fuck these guys, right?
Especially Sterling Hayden. He's a fucking corrupt cop. Yeah, kill him.
He broke his jaw, and like I mean, this is a high point of that movie for a reason, right? Which is, these guys deserved it. You know, they thought they were untouchable, could get away with it, and they didn't. So the closing of the door on Diane Keaton is like, there's nothing to glory in at all.
And how involved the kids are in that moment too, like the kids like being like, "Please, Daddy," kind of look like, it's brutal.
There's a brutal shot, I think, when Talia Shire goes to see Michael, where the two children are in the same room and they're just sitting on a couch in the corner, not talking.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, he's like, just put them on the shelf. He has them, but they're just, you know, like objects basically at this point, right?
Yeah, the way that like kids are kind of, you know, like they aren't central, like, you know, they aren't necessarily like have big speaking parts or anything, but like Francis Ford Coppola is very smart, especially in the first two movies, about like, yeah, when they're around, when you hear like kids playing, like when it's like things like that, like in the wedding and you know, and yeah, and then when there's these huge couples fighting, you know, when that, like, you are aware of there's kids just outside the door or whatever, like.
Yeah, and you contrast it with, you know, the last scene with Marlon Brando where he dies playing with his grandson in the garden, and it's, you know, I mean, obviously it's a man dying, but it's the best possible death that anyone could have, right? He's dying happy, playing with his grandson.
And he's like, he's arranged his affairs. He has his son is going to, he's like, everything is like taken care of now. So yeah, I mean, it feels not as tragic in a way, even though obviously it's a big loss. And the performance, like we could say, Marlon Brando's good in the movie, kind of. It's kind of a good performance. It's sort of you may have seen people do impressions of it before if you haven't seen the movie.
I mean
but like he looms over the whole movie, like you saying, like how they like didn't want to pay for him to come back for the last scene in 2, and they didn't need to because he's indelible. Like the just his face, like all the way he talks, like everything. Like we see him. Like he like that, and that's like the biggest thing. And so many actors do that, especially Pacino and Brando in these movies, that like they make like full characters that just like live apart from the movie almost.
Yeah, I mean they, you know, I think Coppola has said that when they were planning out the movie, they thought we need to get the best actor in the world to play Corleone. So the options were Laurence Olivier or Brando, which I try to imagine what the Olivier version would have been like. That's it's hard to imagine, but Brando, you know, I mean, this is pretty well known that he was not a hot property at the time that this was being made. It was considered a major liability to cast him in the role, and then they do a makeup test. They made him shoot they made him read for it, which I think is typically quite humiliating.
Yeah, for someone of his stature, yeah, it was A-list for a time at least.
Yeah, and then the story I heard was they did a makeup test, because here's another thing that I don't think gets enough credit, and I forget the name of the makeup artist. Don Corleone, they constructed this rubber makeup for his jaw, for his, like, that is, I don't think you would necessarily think there's too much makeup on him, but it really changed his appearance, to the point that when they show the makeup test to Bludorn, who was the head of Paramount, he said, and forgive my language, he said, "Who's this old giddy?" He did not know it was Marlon Brando.
Like he thought it was like some extra or something that they had actually like were doing a test on for some reason.
That's right, and so, you know, the rest is history. Now, look, there was a good documentary that came out about Marlon Brando a few years ago, I think called "Listen to Me, Marlon," and the thing lurking in the background of Marlon Brando is he had some mental illness he just never dealt with his entire life. Yes. And he was extremely difficult to deal with. And people would find over and over again, they would try to deal with him and just think he was eccentric or something like that. And he would be kind of mean. You know, he would...
yeah, he was neurospicy, really, Alan Smith, he's saying. He had something going on.
I think even that might be kind. You know, he had some serious mental issues. You know, he had a horrible childhood. His parents were alcoholics. And he obviously had addiction issues of his own, really with food, and sex. So people would try to work with him and get burned, you know?
Well, I always say that, I mean, this famously, obviously, The Godfather has a mini-series about the making of it that was on Paramount Plus called The Offer. And I always say that the behind-the-scenes movie that I want to see is actually The Island of Dr. Moreau. Make a movie about the making of The Island of Dr. Moreau, because you also have Val Kilmer at his craziest and most difficult coming and colliding with and then went going through directors and everything. The movie is terrible, but reading about everything that happened about the making of that movie is so interesting to me that I'm like, somebody make the movie of the making of it. I would watch it.
That's two of the most difficult, actors in Hollywood history, and I've meant to watch the Val Kilmer documentary with his home videos that he made. I found it interesting. But yeah, I remember reading with Marlon Brando the scene where, this is kind of funny, the scene where Marlon Brando comes home from the hospital after the shooting and they carry his stretcher up the stairs. He put a bunch of weights in the stretcher with him so that it was super heavy for the people to lift it. And then he revealed it later as a joke. All right, that's kind of funny. But making Robert Duvall wear cue cards on his torso in the scene.
I've seen those pictures. Those are great.
Right? Like, because he just refused to learn his lines. It's like, I think that's just shitty. And I don't think there's any good excuse for doing that to another actor and to a director, and but he was a very unwell guy.
But and then this like incredible performance comes out of it, and it just goes to show that like in the same way that you almost have to like trick a good performance out of like a kid or an animal or something, like you have to kind of like coach it, and it's all in the filming, and that's just like it comes across on the screen. But there is a documentary about the making of Dr. Moreau Youthless.
I've seen little clips from it, and I'll say this about Brando, right? One of my favorite videos you can watch of him, it might have been the last movie he ever did, The Score, with Robert De Niro and Edward Norton. And it's a good movie. It's a heist movie directed by Frank Oz.
Yeah, Danny DeVito in that too, I think. Maybe.
That's a Mammoth movie.
Oh, yes. I'm confusing it with the Mammoth.
Right? But The Score, very good movie. And, again, a bunch of nightmare stories about Brando not dealing with the director on that. But you can go on YouTube and find Brando and De Niro riffing a scene, arranging for the heist. And you see him just do a few takes, and you start to get the brilliance of this guy, where every time he does it a little differently, he improvises, he does these things. And it's like, as time has gone on, like, I sort of view acting as almost not an intellectual thing. It's I have a friend who's a good actor who, he said it's just something I have that I can do. And that was the way he put it. Like, it's like some mimicry, some gift or something like that he can do. He doesn't think he's that particularly smart even or anything like that. And
it's based on like an energy that comes across. And it's like, and there's something that, you can, like, it's not like you can't teach somebody to be a good actor. I think you can teach pretty much anybody to be a good actor. But like the really like truly great ones just have this sort of always like live and like aware kind of quality that they're always just like open and that. And I think that, sometimes the people that are like most locked in there, like I think like a Brando, are like, it's because that it's almost, that's too much for them, and like that's so you can put them in the right role and they're perfect there, but like living like that all the time has got to be maddening.
Well, this is Daniel Day-Lewis. All right, the guy's a great actor, right? But I remember Brian Cox, another great actor, right, saying like, can't do it that way, and he loves just opening his mouth.
Right, he likes starting shit.
He likes starting shit. But I have to say, I thought he made a pretty good point. You need to find something more sustainable than the Daniel Day-Lewis method, where you just wreck yourself every time, because the roles get better and better as you get older. I was like, if you have to like take 10 years off between roles to do I get what he's saying, and
right.
No one would say Brian Cox is less of an actor, to me. I mean, him as Logan Roy is like another Vito Corleone.
I mean, I've loved Brian Cox all the way back to like Adaptation, and he's in the one scene as Brian McKee, and then even X2. He's great in X2.
I mean, the first Hannibal Lecter, and in some ways,
Manhunter. Oof. I mean, he's incredible in Manhunter. Also, another Brian Cox performance. That, I mean, just because it's spooky season. Well, we're just past spooky season, but the Wes Craven movie Red Eye, he plays Rachel McAdams' dad, and that's actually a decent movie. I like Red Eye as a nice little 90-minute chiller with Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. But he has a really bad dye job in that movie that I think is very funny.
I even like him. He did a movie with Steven Seagal that is ridiculous. Shit, I can't remember the name of it. But he plays like a CIA boss where Steven Seagal goes into this Italian restaurant to meet with him and beats the shit out of everyone in the place. And Brian Cox has a southern accent. It is so much fun to watch. But obviously, we're talking about good movies today.
But also, like, the school of acting that is big accent and a facial hair or hair choice, that is... I do acting as well here in the DC area a little bit, and that's where I come from as well.
That's your school.
So I totally respect that. And what I love in we have, obviously, Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, like literally some of the best actors of the past 100 years or whatever. But we also have these great collection of guys as well. I said Abe Vigoda already. Fucking Mo Rocca. Wait, no, not Mo Rocca. That's Alex Rocco. Mo Rocca in this movie would be interesting. Alex Rocco as Mo Green is what I was thinking.
If I could say something about Alex Rocco. So Alex Rocco plays Mo Green in Las Vegas, who says, you buy me out, I buy you out, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a great little performance. Now, a very interesting guy. He's in a lot of great movies. He was in Friends of Eddie Coyle.
He's Roger Myers Jr. on The Simpsons.
Right, and was on TV and all this. A very interesting guy in that he was an actual mobster in Boston. Mm-hmm. And knew Whitey Bulger, knew the Buddy Ryan and and Cornelius Ryan and all these gangsters, and got out and became an actor. And you think of that as sort of a Christopher Moltisanti, Sopranos type thing, but he actually did it and went straight and escaped the Boston gang wars of the 50s. So
it reminds me of
he's great.
Dennis Farina is like the same way, because like he was one that his first
Former
movie
cop.
Right, because I talked about Thief on here several months ago, and I think that was his first credit, because he was in that movie had like so many consultants where and all of the consultants who were former cops played like mobsters or bad guys, and then all the people that were former thieves were playing the cops, and I thought that was really funny.
I mean, just as a digression briefly, we did an episode on
and Thief is relevant because James Caan, actually, and I forgot to mention James Caan before.
Well, and that's James Caan's best performance,
yes,
in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And Thief is such a fascinating movie. Like you said, the corrupt cop who's shaking him down in the interrogation room is played by a guy named Chuck Adamson, who was a former cop, former co-creator of Crime Story with Michael Mann, and he's great in it. But then the other, I mean, it gets so confusing. William Hanhart, the former Chicago chief of detectives, we did an episode on him. He's the technical consultant on Thief. He's a technical consultant on Crime Story. And it emerges in the early 2000s was a mafia plant in the Chicago Police Department for decades.
He was... Matt Damon in The Departed, basically.
Basically, right. That he was, running a jewel theft ring. I mean, it's just life is stranger than fiction. Often.
Yeah, I mean, and like, it's this, the mess of show business and mafia and entertainment, and so I guess like just to sort of think about like what was the impact like of The Godfather. As a property, it comes out, it wins Best Picture 2 years in a row, or both of them win Best Picture. It is, along with Lord of the Rings, this is funny. One of it and Lord of the Rings are the only movies that every one of the entries in the trilogy is nominated for Best Picture. Because yes, Godfather 3 was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor Andy Garcia, which that is nuts to me. I mean, it's like a silly, fun performance. Anyway, everything. And like all the technical awards, it got nominated for much, but it didn't win a single one. And the big snub was that Al Pacino wasn't nominated, which was the first time that he wasn't, because he was he won
he shouldn't
supporting, and yeah, I know he shouldn't have, and then it was nominated for lead, and Robert De Niro won for Godfather 2 as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think a little trivia thing is that De Niro and Brando, I think, are the only guys to win an Oscar for playing the same character as Best Actor.
Well, actually, until that's not true. The Joker.
Was there a second?
The Joker.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Joker now.
Yeah, right.
Would be the next one. That's true.
Funny. Although I guess was Heath Ledger Best Supporting Actor? I don't remember.
No,
but,
yeah, he was. So it wasn't the same category, but yeah.
Gotcha.
So it was supporting actor, but that was actually the same for Godfather, because also one of the more famous Oscar acceptances as well, Marlon Brando for the Godfather one, Sachi Littlefeather, yeah, and all that. Very, very controversial and kind of shitty on his part, really, too. And to just like put her in that position just seems really fucked all around.
Yeah, I think that story continues. Yeah, there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's in terms of the impact, I mean, I think we talked about this earlier. Now, I don't feel The Godfather glamorizes the mafia, right?
Right.
But the mafia felt it glamorized.
Well, and that's what I think. It's like for stupid people that would join the mafia.
Right. And that very much is true.
The people that only watch the first half of Goodfellas and then stop before Layla kicks in, you know.
Yeah, that this absolutely gave them an inflated self-image. You know, what was her name? Griselda Blanco, the cocaine trafficker in South Florida, literally named her son Michael Corleone Blanco. So, again, someone who did not grasp the subtleties and intricacies of this, right? So yeah, everyone wants to be, you know, and then look, we went through the same thing with The Sopranos, where I think The Sopranos is unsparing in depicting.
Right. It's definitely more brutal. Like, it's even more, and I think because it's focused, like, Tony, you know, is still, like, he's in charge of his group, but he isn't top. He's not Don Corleone, you know.
Yeah, the best, I mean, as Tony says in the pilot, the best is over, right? Like, now not only is he in the suburbs, like, you know, it's like, it's a bad time to be a mafia don now.
Yeah.
And yet still, growing up on Long Island at that time when it was coming out, people loved Tony and thought he was awesome. And I think it's interesting. We just talked about this with Jesse Farrar, came on our show. And I talked about how when they were making The Sopranos, and you have the episode where Tony catches a rat and strangles him himself, HBO was worried that they'd lose the audience entirely. That people would hate this guy now, and David Chase had to say to them, they are going to love him even more now.
Right.
And they did. You know, they loved that he did that.
It's the revenge thing. And I think that, like, you know, all the way back at the beginning we were talking about Scarface or whatever, the Jimmy Cagney one, where the tough, you know, tweaking the rich elitist type of thing, and, you know, like, that's what it's all about. It's like, these are and it's the same thing of, like, the people, you know, you play Grand Theft Auto and you go on the killing spree and you go all around, and it's like, that's the, like, if I could, you know, be totally just, like, able to, you know, be the brutal, powerful boss, that there is a certain power fantasy that this movie, you know, helped create, even as it, you know, showed the corrupting nature of that as well, and people just, of course, missed that part.
Well, and I think it's easier to focus on the trappings of wealth and whatnot, and it's obvious why those are appealing but empty. But I think power, I've been thinking about that a lot lately in terms of, you know, not to get too current eventsy, but, like, this guy Russell Vought, you know, this, like, nameless nobody in the Trump administration, like, well, he's not flashy and after PR in the way these other guys are. He just wants power. You know?
And he's the Project 2025, like, architect guy too, right? The same guy?
Yeah, and that's what that guy wants. You know, the Toto Riina, who decimated the Sicilian Cosa Nostra, had no use for money. at all. Like, he had no expensive taste. He was like kind of this, kind of backwoods Sicilian guy, but he did thirst for power. That's what he wanted, and it's just as empty and corrosive, as anything. And I'd be hard pressed to think of anyone in the Godfather movies who really escapes that.
Yeah.
Well,
also,
I can't think of a single one.
Speaking of our current administration and things, I did want to talk about, because the next 2 months are franchise fest. We're going to talk about all big movie franchises. Godfather is like one of the biggest, and even though there's a third movie, and they made a video game, and they made this mini series.
The video game's pretty good, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which they didn't get Pacino for, and they didn't have the rights to his likeness or something. So it's a really weird thing. But Duvall and Diane Keaton and like all these people did, and Marlon Brando recorded lines for it, which I think is cool. But it is a Paramount property owned by now Skydance, the Ellisons, and I can't help thinking that this thing is. They're gonna go to this well soon. I mean, like Many Saints of Newark style, like make a kind of prequel. Like they were going to do a fourth Godfather, and actually the script for it sounded kind of interesting, like not terrible. But Mario Puzo died before they could finish it, and they decided to shelve it. And I think somebody eventually adapted it to a book. But I could see them doing any number of things, a prequel like young Vito or something. Like I have a feeling before the end of the decade, this is my marker, we're gonna see something. What do you think?
I mean, that's such a horrifying idea that
I'm not happy about it. I'm just the state of media being what it is.
I mean, it is such a horrifying idea that I have to think it will come true. That when they were launching Paramount Plus, they went to the well of all their properties and made The Offer, for instance. Which
have you seen The Offer?
I haven't. No.
I haven't either. But my dad always tells me I should, and that's the type of show it is. It's your dad's telling you to watch it.
Yeah.
All I know is that Dan Fogler plays Coppola in it. That's all I know.
Coppola. I mean, it very well could be good. I'm not even knocking that, but the tragedy is, look. Hollywood executives are the most risk-averse people on earth. They want just a sure thing as much as they can. But the whole, again, going back to, we talked about how The Godfather got made. It was not a sure bet. They took every risk in the book. Mafia movies were not considered viable. Al Pacino was an unknown who almost got fired making it. Marlon Brando was out of commission. It was so many risks being taken. And obviously that's the only way to make anything worthwhile. So instead of making another Godfather movie, they should be empowering the creative people to make their own Godfather today. That's totally different, right? And we can count the number of guys who get that level of that long a leash. It's like Paul Thomas Anderson, Tarantino, maybe David Fincher, and that's really it. Those are the only guys who get that kind of
Well,
support.
and I think that actually, and it's a bit, and we'll wrap up here in a second, but I think that it's like a lot of the this sort of confluence of events that led to the first one of, you needed the studios to be like completely in collapse. And so now there was, of course, this whole new generation of, the Dennis Hopper and Easy Rider and Peter Bogdanovich and John Schlesinger. And then, Coppola is very much coming right out of that. Another cool part is, of course, Coppola being one of the many people who worked with Roger Corman, and then Roger Corman showing up as one of the senators is a neat little thing, because I just love Roger Corman as well.
And, we got to give credit to that Corman was a bridge between the studio system where you could make a few hundred movies in a few years, and the later generations where he would give people the opportunity to actually go out and make movies and gain experience, and had a pretty good setup. And the only real part of the movie industry I see that in now is the horror movie genre.
It's very much ascendant, like as a genre, in terms of being taken seriously and performing well. And yeah, I agree. And I have to, just to, we've been pessimistic here a lot, so I'll try to end it on an optimistic note, is that the industry is also bottoming out right now. This is an optimistic note, trust me, but it's like, it is a similar situation. The events are kind of, people are going to want to see stuff, and they're going to want to seek out the good stuff, and when it's industry's hollowed out and anybody can kind of pop out and make their thing, we could be around the corner just a few years talking about, damn, we got another renaissance of great, new directors, just like Scorsese and De Palma and all those people of the 70s all over again.
I agree. The more that they consolidate and make conglomerates, the more other people are going to try to do their own thing. And, it's the barrier to entry for making a movie has never been lower. So that's really good, And I think, micro budget movies, shot on an iPhone might be how things are going. And, we'll see. Yeah.
And hopefully, one last thing that I'd like for them to take from these movies, bring back squibs. Let's get some good squibs in movies again.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. Like, it's really insane they use real guns in these movies. But there's nothing like a squib.
Yeah.
No CGI can do a squib.
Right.
And that you don't need a gun for.
Yeah, and I can tell when it's CG blood and it looks bad. I want the visceral, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Well, Dan, is there anything else that we need to cover here? Obviously, The Godfather, we literally could talk for hours and hours and hours. There's endless things to say. But is there anything else that you'd like to, cover here?
I could talk for hours about this, but just, you know what? Like, if you haven't watched it in a while, go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, I was really glad to have the excuse this week to rewatch them as well. It was great, And
if you've never watched it, just watch it. Like, give it a shot. Like, it's. I think it's pretty infectious for everyone.
I will say, and I'm going to make a verdict on all these, because I'm watching the first two of all these big franchises, and I think my verdict is I do prefer the first one. But I also love the second one as well. But I think that the first one is just, like, such a complete thing on its own. The second one, I think, like you're saying, it absolutely does add so much color and texture and, like, stuff to the first one, and it adds... So they're a bonded pair. They're a great bonded pair that you should watch both of them. But I do think the first one's better personally, but it's close.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you so much. I mean, again, what a great way to kick off Franchise Fest. Everybody should, if they already are, but they should absolutely be checking out the outfit. I love watching every episode. My wife and I, we sit down and we just chuckle at these lunkheads and the dumb schemes they get into.
We have no shortage. That's so nice to hear, though, Bobby. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. This has been such a pleasure. People, please tune in. Thank you, everybody, for following today. I don't know what the franchise is going to be next week. It's going to be one of these other 8 guys. So look up for, like, it might be Star Trek or maybe Toy Story or Lord of the Rings. We'll see. So just look at my socials, and we'll see what we're going to get into next week. But yeah, thanks again, Dan, for being here, and everybody, and we'll see you. Oh wait, let me actually start a raid. Who's live? And yeah. Oh, look at that. Who's live? None other than our good friend Justin. All right, everybody, say hi to Justin, and have a good rest of your weekend. And we'll see you later.
Guys, bye.
Toronto, Cannes, Berlin, and Sundance, everybody chat about. Good movies, chat about. Good movies, chat about. Good movies. Good movies.